Hello and welcome to the first Reach Live of 2022. And what a fantastic one we have for you. My name's Reena Sooch, and I am the head of digital and connected health at Ipsos. Ipsos are a global market research and insight agency. We work with research data on all the new trends that are happening in digital and connected health. Every month, we bring to you Reach Live. We bring leaders, innovators, creatives who are really pushing the field forward. And I could not be more thrilled. Today, we're talking about music. And music has a very deep place in my own heart. And there's so much that we're going to discuss today, and we have very little time, so I'm going to get going. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome Walter and Howard to Reach Live today. Thank you for being here. Um, Howard, I want to come to you first. Please give us an introduction, and then we'll pass over to Walter.
Yeah, I'm Howard Rose. I am the head of health and wellness at a company called Spatial. We have an immersive platform for doing 3D audio, and it can be used for music. It can be used for lots of different applications. I'm going to talk mostly about how it's used in healthcare, but it can be used also in lots of different retail, hospitality, sports, all sorts of kinds of things. And we are working with Walter Werzowa and his organization HealthTunes. Over to you, Walter.
Thank you. Thanks, Reena, for having us here. I'm Walter Werzowa, founder of HealthTunes. It's a nonprofit bringing music into the health space, and we pair evidence-based research and music and have precision outcomes with music therapy, streaming music therapy, and aim towards hospitals and also the person at home who might need some very specific music therapy.
Thank you. Thank you both for kind of coming in and doing your intro specific to today's talk, which is healthcare focused. But Walter, I want to come to you first, and I'm a little bit in awe of your talent. For many who may be listening and may know already, but the Intel Corporation, Fairlife, LLC, Red Bull have all benefited from your talent, from your compositions, because you do audio branding work as well. I will big you up for you because I know you're very humble. So I just want to say I think that's one in itself amazing. So it leads me to ask you the first question: how did an individual who's so entrenched in music find a pathway into healthcare? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a very personal event. I started music. I have a music studio in Los Angeles, and when my youngest son was 5 years old, he got leg praetus. It's a very rare disease. Basically, the hip bone, the femur, falls apart and grows back. It's extremely painful. And when he got this diagnosis, as parents, we were, of course, absolutely like him in shambles. And we opted in to have osteopathy, acupuncture, diet, and sound healing being part of his recovery. And a year later, he was running. Normally, this is a 4-year process. And so the doctors at hospitals ask us, what did you guys do to get this fast recovery? And I realized that music was a big part of it. And I got very lucky in my life. And I want to give back to everybody, to the world, and offer that power of music in a very streamlined form, easy searchable to the world.
Sharing. And yeah, powerful stuff to have taken that road and thinking so holistically. And healthcare is so personal, right? Health matters to all of us. Without health, we have
Hmm.
nothing to walk forward with. So
Yeah.
I completely resonate with where you've taken your talent and where you're applying it. So Howard, come in here. How did you come to learn about the power of music? Was it through meeting Walter or something else?
As you can see by my background, I'm sort of into sound. Um, My background is actually in virtual reality applications for therapy. I've worked in that for many years, everything from pain relief, acute and chronic pain, using VR, immersive VR, and biosensors and biofeedback and different approaches to help burn patients through debriding, wound care, acute and chronic pain, worked on PTSD, mental health interventions, and different kinds of things. So I've spent a long time in hospitals and this area of translational medicine, uh, building these digital therapeutics and then taking them into clinical environments where we test and evaluate the efficacy, try to fit them into the flow of care. Personally, you know, I've had the fortune of not having to go through, knock on wood. I think we're all heading towards we all know that we're going to need the health system, but I family members who've dealt with cancer and uh, lots of different conditions, aging parents. We all have it. So I think what I bring to this conversation is my background in VR, and in at Spatial, what we're trying to do is two things. One is to humanize these health spaces because palliative care, end of life, cancer, dialysis, infusion, uh, health environments are chronically unhealthy. They tend to be very stress inducing and very antiseptic and alienating. They're not humane, warm places. And sound actually can have a big role in helping us to get the cues to relax and to use music, and our ears are always on. They're always listening. It happens at a very subtle level. So there's music, which is the controlled, intentional sound, and Walter can talk to that. There's also ambient sounds in clinical environments such as ICU. We've got all the machines that go bing. And there's a lot of unhealthy stuff. So there's so much work that we can do, and that's what we're aiming for at Spatial.
Stuff, and it makes so much sense. I don't know if others who are listening had the same thing, but I was literally picturing myself in some of those waiting rooms and those feelings I have. Because you're right, then they just kind of drive further anxiety, further worry. Before we get into kind of bringing this to life a bit more, Walter, I want to come to you about how music does this. What is it about it? Because this is not just us saying it, there's work and evidence that kind of supports it. So give us a little bit of an education. What is it
That,
about music that makes it healing?
it's a wonderful question. There's so many facets what could help. There could be the rhythm that entrains us to breathe along. And I'm sure you've been in these situations in meditation or yoga centers where the rhythm of the music helps you to breathe along and to basically get your vagotonic system down to homeostasis and to be calm. And that works so quickly. We're trying this in NICU where sometimes preemies have very elevated heart rate. It might be 200. And we tune in the music at 200 and slow it down. And you could tell that the baby's heart rate follows. And in a minute or less, you can bring that baby's heart rate to 150. And it's astonishing how powerful and it always works. There could be different music pieces, melodies which help. In epilepsy, there is a recent study that we can help 70% lesser seizures and episodes with very specific music. And one piece of music is a Mozart a piano piece for four hands. And that's extremely powerful, even to people who don't like Mozart. And there is so much drug resistant epilepsy, and here music can help. And then we all know it right now. It's like we live in isolation, and there's quarantine, and there's stress, there's anxiety and burnout. And here we can help with brainwave entrainment, where we add binaural beats to the music, and that helps us to get our brain waves in certain frequencies to again calm us down and to feel less stressed.
So fascinating, so fascinating. I mean, what I want to ask is like, how does someone find the right sound for them? Is that such a
It,
thing?
we can definitely there's a lot of research there, and um, everything we offer on in HealthTunes is researched, and definitely can, and we even offer with every therapy that you can read up why what specific helps, and that is a powerful part of that. And we are spatial beings, and it's very important also to get the sound in good quality.
Mhm.
And this is where Howard comes in and delivers cases where you can immerse yourself into audio the way it's supposed to be and the way we should listen to it in best quality.
Absolutely. Professionally queued him up for me, lovely there. So, Howard, do come along here. Give us a bit more.
Yeah. Right. So, sound and music is there's a lot of preference, and everybody is different. We all like different things, and uh, so, first, a bit about spatial and what it is. Spatial is an immersive, it's a real time 3D environment that it plays out for on a set of speakers and gives you the sense that you are actually transported into that space. The speakers can be as small as a hospital room, or they can be as big as a theme park. And we create these, we have a tool to create these virtual simulations that can play out on these set of speakers. So it's real time. And what that means is that we can hook in things like biosensors. We can hook in physical sensors and cameras and all sorts of things. On the output side, it can control visuals and link to other kinds of technologies, light systems, et cetera. So what this enables is sort of three things. I think of the demands of medicine uh, are number one, precision medicine is so important. We need to, we're in the age of very focused tools. It has to work like a drug. Number two is it needs to be standardized. That doctors and patients need to understand how a digital therapeutic works, and understand kind of the mechanisms behind it, so that a doctor, for example, can prescribe that as a solution. And the last one is personalization, which gets to your question, which is everybody is different and they want different things. So in order for music therapy to really be scalable and to meet the needs of a lot of health environments, it needs to be precise and standardized and personal. And up until now, honestly, that has not been possible in spatialized, immersive kinds of digital technologies. So the big advancement of using spatial with something like HealthTunes is that it can react to the patient, it can react to our individual needs in real time, and it can modulate using something like biosensors and biofeedback. It can modulate in real time to what we need. If you take the example of one of the solutions that we're working on is birthing, and a birthing process can go for a long time, and the needs change dramatically over the course of that experience. So in the beginning, you might want calming, and you might want different kinds of experiences enhanced with music and other kinds of sounds, and that, with a biosensor, we can help someone ride the wave. across it, and then at the end, it's a very different environment. So we can use a real-time environment that is spatial. You don't have to wear anything to deliver an experience that modulates according to the needs of that therapeutic environment.
It's fascinating.
Have you sing along or tap along? And I think with that comes a familiarity and the opposite of isolation, and so you can connect with the crowd in your room, and even in different rooms, like now with digital streams.
Yeah.
And so it becomes personal.
And maternal healthcare is a topic that's of huge passion for Reach. They're doing a huge amount of work, and a big plug to the Reach Happy Mama app and platform, which I believe is integrating the items that you spoke about in the music for mothers. So that's something to check out. Howard, you spoke about digital therapeutic. So is that the ambition to take the solutions that you have and have the classification of it being a digital therapeutic which can be prescribed? I mean, what's the pathway here for access?
Yeah, so Spatial is a platform for doing lots of different applications. In healthcare, we want to we want to bring this technology to clinical environments, to different kinds of, ultimately patients and people at home will be able to use it in the future. So, our goal at Spatial, and my role as head of health and wellness, is to bring this solution to the healthcare world and to help content creators and curators such as Walter and HealthTunes to use our system to bring the next generation of music therapy, sound therapy into these clinical environments. So we do have a creative team. We do our own development, but basically we can't develop that on our own. HealthTunes has a lot of research and has put a lot of thought into their presentation and the kind of things that they enable. So we want to use our technology to enable that to reach a wider audience and with a bigger impact.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Let's talk a bit more about HealthTunes. One of the great stats at CES this year was the rise of the subscription. We, as individuals, as consumers, are willing and open to subscribing to multiple platforms. I think the average individual has up to 6 subscriptions, the average individual, and the super user can go up to 10. And the other thing that's really interesting is sustained use. So once people start trying something, that's great, but they also continue to use the subscriptions, they carry on. That's, I think, really encouraging. So, Walter, what's the vision for HealthTunes? Because it feels to me like a platform which you'd want to have integrated within your lifestyle, but what's your vision for HealthTunes?
We have grand visions there. It's like we want to implement it also in smart architecture, where your room tells our engine what music is in the moment the best for the person in there. Subscription is definitely also our basis. You can subscribe monthly or yearly. The advantage of those playlists is that you get feel comfortable with it, and you have learned outcomes with it. And music is so much about context and visualizing that I'm sure it happens to you. You hear a split second of a music track, a song, and you immediately know what song it is once, but also all the emotions come back. And so if you had a positive outcome in a procedure in a hospital, and you bring that experience, that our experience back home, you can relive that over and over and extend that powerful outcome.
Yeah, no, I think music plays a huge role in our screenplay of life, in our narrative, and the calming and the way it kind of ignites different parts of the mind. I mean, we was talking when we were catching up about that. Talk just a little bit more, share that around what music can do to different parts of our mind and how it unlocks, especially for melancholy. Could you share that?
Oh yeah, and melancholy is sometimes we think it is strange that if someone has a rough day or is depressed, that you would listen to melancholic music because that feels like it might even extend or bring you deeper into that feeling. But science found out that when we listen to melancholic music, and that's different for different people. So something which sounds melancholic for me might not sound melancholic for you. It's very personal. Induces the production of the hormone prolactin. And prolactin is a hormone which helps us to overcome trauma and to see things from a different perspective. And especially during birthing, mothers produce a lot of prolactin, which helps them to see and feel and experience this event a couple of days very differently. Um, and there is this if you would ask a mom during childbirth, normally she would say never ever again. And a couple of days later already, there is a reframe, and prolactin is a big part of that to say, okay, I'm ready for the next one. And music can really support this. And prolactin is also a hormone men produce, and it helps us as well to see situations from a different angle and to resolve it in a better way.
Ah, so interesting. Really is. Howard, I want to talk about VR. And whilst we are really talking about the immersive experience, but you've got such a history of working in virtual reality, and I want to know from you, like, how do you feel about where it is today? Because it's kind of come very far, right, from you guys who were really early on with it and to where we are today. But I'm sure you're more excited about the future. So give me your take.
Yeah. So after a few decades doing VR work and research and bringing this stuff to hospitals and trying to figure out how it works, what does immersion do? What does interaction do? What does the psychophysical aspect of VR do? Uh, uh, and working in applications in physical and mental health and behavioral health. Um, I think, how do I feel about it today? I think that it is moved from the realm of science fiction into something that everybody goes, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I think that, being early on, I had to explain to people what VR is. Now, most people have had some kind of VR experience. And I just like to say that, people think about VR as a goggle, a headset experience. Um, my go-to definition of VR is a computer-generated experience that evokes the sensation the experience is real. Um, and it has nothing to do with a single technology. That can be physical, that can be use haptics, which is, the sense of touch. It can be sound. It can be combinations of those. It can be multisensory. But the salient point there is, one, it's not bound to one technology, and the other is that it evokes the sensation that you are transported into it. So VR is virtual reality for me is sort of a paradigm. It's a design framework to think about how we can use digital experiences. I would call spatial virtual reality. It's mostly in the audio realm. But what we find is that when we take this into a clinical setting, you get a sense of immersion, which is where virtual reality kind of starts. You need that sense of immersion and that sense of presence. And once you have that sense of presence, then you can do all sorts of really amazing, fun things. Uh, as we talked about biosensors and make it responsive and use different kinds of beat frequencies. Walter's uses binaural beats, and we use a similar approach. So you can do kind of interventions. You can hook MIDI in. You can hook all sorts of other devices, make it a creative experience. So we can dramatically change what happens in a therapeutic environment. We can take those things because they're digital, we can make them portable, and people can do them at home, or extend the usability and the efficacy of these different approaches.
No, I think it's fascinating. I mean, and anyone who has had an experience of feeling immersed in an environment can speak to its power. And if you haven't, I encourage you to. But one question I have for you both is on the technology, because there are a lot of options out there. So, if you were to advise someone, and let's not get into brand naming, let's avoid the brand naming, but just generally, if you were to mention what benchmark of quality should people be going for when they want to experience the music? Because I feel for me, the speaker does matter. Like, I do feel like the way you hear the sound and how it's meant to be heard can really differ. But what do you say to that, Walter? Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. There's one benchmark. The older MP3 quality had, because it was so compressed and it lost so much data to be a small file size, would strain our brain. It makes us tired and it makes us irritated. So definitely listen to good quality files. I think that's where it starts. Ideally, even to live music, but then you don't always have the benefit of live music. And then the next step is good speaker systems. Most of the cars have incredible speaker systems, and we are thinking more and more that the car can be an incredible relaxation room, or even meditation room, not for the driver, of course, and because it has such a great sound system and it's contained. uh, People have more and more like knowledge about it, and ultimately it's best if we don't realize and feel how what technology is. It just has to affect us and produce outcomes, and then it doesn't matter which brand it is. It just has to work, and we are at the point where it's readily available.
If I can just jump in here a second, so virtual reality is based on a match with our sensory system, and it is a pre-conscious experience. And so the quality of the experience, the quality of the delivery device, really affects the core of the phenomenon of immersion. When things match our sensory system well, and that can be audio quality or visual quality, the closer the match to our sensory system, the more that the technology disappears. And ultimately, we want the technology to disappear because it interrupts. If when you have poor quality, it interrupts the experience, the immersion. And so, number one, you need high quality in order to match our sensory system, and then you don't want to disrupt it. And that is essential in order to make these things, the technology work, the VR experience work.
Isn't there one caveat, and actually, how you and I experienced? Sometimes imagination is very powerful when we don't try to animate it so it's almost real. Sometimes, and we have been in that experience in VR, if there is more imagination from us needed, it is more powerful.
Yeah, and in building applications, so I build up worked on PTSD with the Department of Defense for
Hmm.
soldiers, and a lot of you want to build ambiguity into this, or
Yeah.
in a therapeutic environment, you want to build a space because it's interactive. You want to build a space for that interaction to happen. So
Hmm.
we need to,
Hmm.
as designers, leave a gap. uh, what do I bring? How much of an experience do I bring, and how much space do I leave for that user to fill in and have a role?
I
That's the
absolutely.
secret of music, I think, because it's all about imagination. It's like you find your imagination about feelings, and it's always your thing.
This is a wonderful way to wrap this up, and I think you guys have said some really powerful things. The main thing for me, yeah, technology should disappear, and you should that to really feel that immersion. It shouldn't be any friction around us, from the sound quality to the tech itself. Thank you both so much. I know you're going to be at South by Southwest. There'll be an Spatial doing an exhibit, right? And you're at HIMSS, and there's IVRHA happening. March is very busy, is my feeling. But please, in the last minute, maybe Howard, give a run through to people where they should check out, because Reach will be present at all of these things as well. So tell them where to go.
Right. And thank you. So Spatial is at spatialinc.com, and you can find information there. My address is howard@spatialinc.com. Please contact me. We will be at South by Southwest in March in Austin. We will have a big installation. You can come and experience Spatial. We will have a panel, both Walter and the leader of Reach, Fran Ayala Sumayajula, will be there and joining us in a health panel. There'll be a lot of interesting events. So if you're in Austin in March, come and see us.
Fantastic. And I know HIMSS as well. You're speaking at HIMSS too, right, Howard? March 15th?
Yes, I was invited to join Reach at HIMSS, and I'm looking forward to that, and lots more to come.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for spending your Friday with me. It's a delight. I can honestly mean it. It's such a fascinating conversation. Thank you all. Thank you for those that were listening. LinkedIn, follow these individuals on LinkedIn, follow Reach Live, subscribe on the YouTube channel, and we look forward to seeing you next month at Reach Live. Thank you so much for joining us.